Trying to buy a home in 2025 feels a little bit like a bidding war on a vintage Bronco in a parking lot full of millionaires, blindfolded while someone's yelling, "as is only," and in your ear. But here's the deal. You don't have to drain all of your life savings or write your offer in your own blood to win in today's market. You just need a strategy. And today I'm handing you 5 of the best, smartest, savviest buyer strategies for playing to win without overpaying. Let's go. All right, so the main point is to know your local market inside and out. One of those is seller skewed, but not everywhere. In Gillette, most of northeastern Wyoming, the current absorption rate is 3 months. So technically it's still sitting at a seller's market, but certain price ranges, especially over 500K, have slowed down, and that's where opportunity lives. So if you're buying a 500K house and they're slower to move, that is going to be a great point for you as a buyer because they have so much competition right now and they're probably really antsy because all of their friends sold a couple years prior when the market was so different. Days on market equals leverage. So homes sitting longer than 30 days often indicate overpricing or seller fatigue. So according to our Flex MLS, nearly 20% of listings in Campbell County have been on the market 45 plus days. So that is prime for negotiation. You've had their showings and they're probably sitting there like, all right, I'm ready to move on with my plan. I need an offer. Or maybe they have a deadline. Like maybe it's by the end of summer, they want to be out of here or moved into their new house. Maybe their new house has a contingency. So that is going to be a prime spot for you as a buyer to go zero in and make some negotiations happen. Price reductions are up. Wyoming saw a 17% increase in price reductions in June compared to May, and that was sourced through realtor.com. Sellers are testing the market and adjusting when they don't get offers, so patience pays. I can even tell you this myself. I track all of that stuff weekly just in northeastern Wyoming, and the price reductions are significant, much more than before. And it's got to do with sellers that maybe thought they could get what their neighbor got when they sold even just 6 months ago. Things are different now, and the market isn't quite what it is, especially if in your upper end 500K plus, you're gonna be seeing a lot more saturation. All right, so you need to make sure you get real-time intel. Your agent should run comps within the last 7 to 14 days in your neighborhood of interest. Data from 8 months ago is about as useful as a flip phone in 2025. You want to make sure that I can see a huge difference in everything from even just May to now. So like if you are looking at what you want to get as a good deal, you need to make sure your agent is running the comps on those. Watch inventory fluctuations. If new listings are outpacing pending sales in your target area, that's a sign competition is cooling. You may have more wiggle room on price or terms if this is the case. So point number 2 is going to be writing a winning offer without throwing money away. And these are just a few things you can do. If you're my buyer, I'm gonna have a whole plethora of other things we can do, but these are probably the top 5 things that give you some good negotiations. Use escalation clauses wisely. Escalation clauses can help you win, but cap them. Make sure you say up to a certain amount. And that just means simply, I'll pay 5K over the highest offer that you receive, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This gives you a cap on it and keeps you from emotional bidding, which we all know mixing emotion into big decisions is never a smart thing. So make sure you have that cap. Waive only what you understand. If you're waiving inspections or appraisals and it sounds kind of tough, but it can be risky. So instead, shorten your timelines or use information-only inspections to stay competitive, but protected. What I usually will have my buyers do is if they're going to waive inspections, we will waive anything that is cosmetic. So that way, if we find something that is a functional item of the house, we are still allowed to go in and offer or negotiate on getting that fixed for them. That way, you're not just flat out waiving all inspections and you're gonna have to move forward with a purchase of a home with a bad roof or a bad foundation. You don't want that. Strengthen the financial side. Bigger earnest money, like even just 2 to 3%, shows commitment. It conveys to the seller that you are serious about this. Maybe even make it non-refundable. That's always very appealing from the seller side. You can offer flexible terms. Letting the seller pick the closing date or offering post-occupancy rent backs even can make your offer shine, even without the highest price. I can definitely say, even if you have like a conventional loan versus FHA, that's gonna make the seller feel very warm and fuzzy. So you can negotiate other items that aren't necessarily price that can make or break the deal and be more appealing to the seller. Whatever's gonna make their life easy. Have your agent ask them, what would the seller prefer? And then you can construct your offer that's going to fit what they need and also fit what you need. Personalize the pitch. Buyer love letters are risky legally, but a cover letter from your agent explaining your financial strength, your motivation, and flexibility can help make a huge difference. Personally, and this is a juicy tidbit, but I don't like the fancy letters. I think that sellers tend to really not read them maybe, especially if they have multiple offers. I usually have my buyers that if they fell in love with the house and they're like, Jess, we really need this, I have them compose a text about why they would love that property and what their plans for that property are. So we tap into the seller's emotions. And then I just simply text that to the other agent and I'm like, hey, could you pass this along with our offer to the sellers? Hands down, I haven't had it fail yet. All right, so another point is going to be protecting your wallet, even in a bidding war. Know your walk away point. Before you even write your offer, decide what number is too high. Like, what would you be uncomfortable at? And then stick to that. Emotional bidding is how HGTV dreams turn into Zillow regrets. Get appraisal gap coverage in writing. If you offer over the list price, be clear on who covers any appraisal shortfalls, whether it's you, the seller, or how it works. Otherwise, you could come out of your pocket with no recourse and end up covering all of that yourself, which sucks because that would be literal cash out of your pocket at closing. Use an as is to win, but not a safety net. Considering offering as is, but keeping your inspection contingency. You're not asking for repairs, but you still have the right to walk away if you find any deal breakers. So there's specific verbiage that we would use as your agent to put in there that you're just getting an inspection for your knowledge, or you are taking the property as is and you would like your 10-day inspection period, maybe even bump it up make it faster. Say you could have your inspection just within a couple days, because then the seller is going to be comfortable with the fact that it's not going to be dragged on forever and they can move on with you as the buyer or go find a new one. All right, don't forget closing costs. A winning price doesn't help if you're short on cash to close. So plan for taxes, insurance. Make sure you search those insurances because they can really go all over the place and some of them can be very spendy. Lender's fees, especially since average closing costs in Wyoming run 2 to 3% of the purchase price. And right now I would say lenders mostly charge about 3% of whatever your purchase price is. Ask for seller credits strategically. If the home has sat or the seller's timeline is tight, negotiate for rate buydowns or credits towards closing costs. You could save thousands on your monthly payment. Maybe the roof is bad and the seller only wants to pay for half of it. I just had this happen on a deal. And then they ended up negotiating where they put half of what the roof costed, a brand new, really nice roof, towards the purchase price. And so we increased the purchase price a little bit. So essentially the buyer was financing half of it in and the seller only paid for half of the roof. Then he still was able to keep his closing costs being paid and everything. So make sure you have an agent working on your side to negotiate all of that because it can work out very good or very bad. So yes, it's a seller skewed market, but it's not a seller runs over you market, and you're not gonna lose your shirt in every deal. You just need to have the right game plan. So let everyone else panic and panic bid their way to regret, but you can play smarter and sharper and still keep your financial peace of mind. Hit that like button if you've learned something new with this video, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.